are live. Welcome to the 79th or 69th, 79th episode of Dark Lord of Optics Live, a modestly labeled live stream that I do here and there. My guest today is Aaron Gines. I actually don't know if that's a correct pronunciation of his last name. I'm sure he'll correct me in a moment. Who works for Anarchy Outdoors. I don't know how much you guys know about Anarchy Outdoors. It's not a company I talk about a huge amount. But I started using some of the accessories they make, and I found them to be very well made. So I thought I'd invite Aaron over and we can talk a little bit about his company. But we'll probably start with a conversation about precision shooting. Aaron is a competitor. I was under the impression that he was primarily shooting in the rimfire matches, but just before this, corrected me. Apparently, he does centerfire as well. So this should be a good discussion. I'm about to start doing competitions, so different ones that what he normally does. And I want to pick his brain why he prefers one over the other, what would be a good way to go. I'm curious about what he uses. And from there, we can talk about Anarchy Outdoors as well, as is usually the case. Whenever questions come up, if something appropriate comes up in a chat box, we'll address it quickly. And if it is something that it's not so much up Aaron's alley, I might touch on it a little bit later in a live stream. I'm going to add Aaron to it. Aaron, you ready to go? Nod. Yeah, he's nodding. All right. And welcome.
Hey, Ilya, how are you?
Oh, just peachy. It's a wonderful evening in Orlando. I am in a hotel room with a wonderful view of a Ferris wheel and comfort suites. Great.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, fair disclaimer: I'm sitting in my hotel room, and the internet so far is working, but it can be occasionally spotty. If I drop off somehow, it's gonna be up to Aaron to hold down the fort, and I'll reconnect off of my phone hotspot, something like that. All right, Senor Cunt Bucket, by far the most creative name on YouTube, who is now on Rumble, is here. Howdy, party people! Boy, are you in the wrong crowd. Okay. Actually, I don't know about Aaron. With me, definitely wrong crowd.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't party too hard, but you know what? I have to give you kudos, as English is not your first language, and you nailed my last name.
I did.
Yeah,
Yes.
Gines.
Not bad.
It's a really obscure English rule, right? It's
Hmm.
when an I is followed by a consonant followed by an E, it makes a hard G sound. So Gines.
How
Gines
interesting.
is what it is.
How do
So
people normally pronounce it or mispronounce it?
Gines or Guinness or Guinness or whatever. So
Okay.
so
I thought it had some sort of gynecological sound to it, but okay.
yeah.
You may have heard that. You may have heard that before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just put a V sound with it. So
Yeah. So my last name in Russian means cat. So growing up in the Soviet Union with the last name Cat was interesting. Though, to be fair, my sunny personality did not exactly help.
I don't think it has to do with the culture of the Soviet Union, but the culture of Russia itself. You know, Russia's
Yeah.
always been a hard culture and not always the sunniest. So
Russia is not so much hard as depressive, alcoholic, and deeply bipolar, but that's a conversation we can have if you want. I have an unpopular but very, very well informed view of Russia. But we're
I
not we're not going to start with that.
I
Let's
love culture, places, and people. So we can go wherever you want.
excellent. Then stay out of Russia.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Uh, all right, so let's talk about guns and optics for a little bit. So I'll let people file in. I see they're slowly accumulating. Mr. Lakeshore guy is here. Good to see you, sir. Well, good to know you're here. You can see us. We can't see you. So let's do this. Aaron, how about you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and then let's talk a little bit about competition, since you are a pretty serious competitor. And from there, we can switch to Anarchy Outdoors, and if any good questions come up, we'll address those.
Yeah. So, like Ilya introduced me, my name is Aaron Gines. I am a founder and owner of Anarchy Outdoors. we kicked off in 2015. About the same time that I bought my first precision rifle. I bought a Ruger Precision in October or November of 2015, and I started the journey in centerfire. Right, and 2015 is what I consider a catalyst year in the industry, and Ilya could probably acknowledge that as well. As
Hmm.
the Ruger Precision came out in 2015 and 16, kind of really jump started the precision long range at an affordable price. Where it kind of started in those years, and you can see it like Element Optics and Athlon Optics and Coltac and Area 419 and a bunch of these companies. They all have origins in those couple of years, 2015, 16, 17. So I started shooting competitively in Utah. That's where I am. That's where I'm based out of. In what we call the Rocky Mountain Precision Rifle League or Series. It predates the PRS just a little bit. It turned into a regional PRS. It eventually turned into the regional Rocky Mountain PRS series that it is today. But so I started out in 2015 shooting 6.5 Creedmoor out of a stock Ruger Precision rifle, and been on a journey ever since. Just learning different things and always learning. Every day I learn something new. But yeah, that's kind of where I started. And we started Anarchy Outdoors. My business partner and I started it as kind of an outdoors drop shipping company. And in my search for Ruger Precision aftermarket parts, we discovered a hole in the market, and we shifted into a firearms accessory / retailer / military uniform clothing distributor. So we do all
Yeah,
sorts of different things.
that one surprised me a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, we do a lot of different things. Very dynamic. I have a background in management information systems. Been an IT guy for a long time. Have an MBA, so I learned the business management side of things, and it's just been fun. It's just fun. I love running businesses, growing ideas into whatever you want it to be. So that's kind of my background, but started in centerfire PRS for sure.
Okay, very interesting. So let's see. We can. It's very interesting. I agree with you that a lot of interesting stuff started around 2015 or so. When Ruger RPR came out, I kind of looked at it and said, all right. I kept on thinking Tikka is going to do something, but they screwed it up and Ruger jumped into this place. Nobody was going to do a cool looking precision rifle in that price range. And then Ruger did, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, I owe a lot to Ruger and to the rifle. Honestly, I owe the company that I currently have and run because of they took a chance, right?
Yeah.
They took a chance where they made I call it blue collar man, but they made an $800 rifle that could shoot half MOA guaranteed and could shoot out as far as you're capable of shooting, right? And they kind of really opened the door, right? It would take any AR-15 butt stock, it would take any pistol grip, but what they really did is with the magazine, it will take a P mag, it will take an AICS mag, it will take a variety of different magazines, and that's what kind of really opened it up. And then they've iterated on the rifle because they've learned certain things as they have gone through the process, and kind of as the technology and different things has evolved over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So
That's true. I don't know if I'm necessarily with you on the half MOA guaranteed, but I agree on the rest of it. My experience with RPR was not good. That's why I don't own one. I thought it was.
Did you buy a 308?
I had a 308 and I had a 6.5 Creed,
Okay.
and neither one of them shot especially well. I thought the rifle was crude, but it looked the part. You could get a decent trigger on it, and it was easy to accessorize. A precision rifle is a system of components. It's not just a gun. It's not just a barrel with a
Right.
trigger. and everybody else who was was making relatively affordable accurate rifles prior to the RPR did not capitalize on a system level approach. Ruger did, and then by the time they got to Gen 2, they seemed to shoot.
Yeah, the 308s, just this is just factual for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The 308s do not shoot as well as their other calibers. And that has a lot to do with there's not a really good 308 spec for ammunition.
Oh.
It's the every 308 reamer could be a little different. They're not all
Mhm.
cut to the same specification. So kudos to Hornady, right? And Ruger. They got together 6.5 Creedmoor. Every reamer is the same. They're cut the same. Every barrel's cut the same, to the same dimensions, to the same spec, which is what makes 6.5 Creedmoor, unfortunately, a little more inherently accurate than the 308, because you have the 308 NATO version, which is slightly different. And then everyone, it's kind of like the Wild Wild West on the 308. They're cutting some throats bigger, some shorter. It's not consistent. And that's one thing I think Hornady has done since 2015 is when they release a caliber, the gun manufacturers cut their barrels to the factory ammunition, which allows
Mhm.
you to see inherently more accuracy out of that. And unfortunately, I've spent a lot of time with the Ruger Precision. I have 9 years experience with it. We have every single caliber at the shop. And, we've talked to customers. The 308s will hold one MOA guaranteed if you find the right ammo for the gun or it's the most expensive ammo you can buy.
That's actually a very fair point. I shoot both. I have fixed rifles with both 308 and 6.5. I'm going to shoot a match with the 6.5 mostly because it kicks less. But I just did a long range class in Wisconsin with 308, and it shot very well with relatively inexpensive AAC ammo that I was trying, which was kind of a nice surprise.
That I'm not super familiar with that ammo, but I shot some 77 grains out
Mhm.
of my 10-inch AR over the weekend, and it's impressive.
I tested a bunch of 56 and 308 loads and a few different guns, and the 308s actually had more consistent velocities than 56. Go figure. But all of them, given how inexpensive the ammo is, have shot well. I took the 308 out to 1,000 yards during a class very comfortably. But to be fair, it's a proof barrel with a relatively tight chamber that shoots most things reasonably well. So I can't
Yeah, I
complain.
mean, if you want to take the time to make a 308 and then hand load it or cut it the chamber to specific ammo type, 308 will work.
Yeah,
My comments were specifically around the Ruger Precisions,
yeah,
right? There when they first came out, I still think this is the same. The 6.5 Creedmoor had a 24-inch barrel. The 308 had a
okay.
20-inch barrel. Um, there you go, guys. Ruger's calling him.
Does this work now? Fuck. Can you
Gotcha.
guys hear me?
Yep, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it works. Yeah. Sorry about that. Once again, I've been married for 20 years this year, and I make it a point to never ignore my wife.
What a nice guy. I make my wife call me twice before I answer.
Did your wife serve in the Israeli military?
No, that would make a big difference.
Mine did. She's very nice about it, but I keep on thinking that one day I'm gonna piss her off and she's gonna snap. So
She might give you a cell phone or a pager.
yeah, never accept that from an Israeli.
Yep. Yep.
Rob is reloading goes must be important. Yes, it was.
You know what's funny, and this is a tangent. I was reading the book
Mhm.
Surprise, Vanish, Kill, and I actually have a couple friends that are quoted in the book. It's about the CIA's ground branch, right?
Mhm.
And they talked about how Mossad had used a cell phone bomb to assassinate somebody,
Mhm.
like 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. I happened to read that like 2 weeks before the pager thing, and I was go, I know exactly what happened there. Mossad's out handing out candy to terrorists.
Pretty much. Well, they were not
So,
handing out. They actually sold them the pagers and the
oh yeah,
walkie-talkies, which I think is brilliant. The thing is that trying to booby trap a cell phone and use that to kill somebody has been used on and off for a long time. It's been in movies and books and in real life. The amazing thing about what Israelis pulled off is the sheer volume, how many of those pagers, how many of those walkie-talkies they were able to distribute. Okay.
yep.
Anyhow, so
So
back to 308. So Mr. Bucket goes, is that the variance in the 308 ammo manufacturing because of how old the cartridge is, or there is some other main reason?
I would probably put it down to that.
Just too many out there, too many different rumors, too many people kept on trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why Hornady, you release a Sammy spec, right? If you go on Sammy's website, you can see the new cartridges are coming, right? Because they get approved a
Mhm.
little bit before any manufacturer releases the data. And it's if you have a spec and a tolerance and a standard, it's a
Mhm.
lot easier to control the output, right? And also, I don't know, I don't shoot through 8 a ton. Maybe Ilya knows, but a 20-inch barrel seems a little short to me for a 308, and maybe that's maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not sure. I don't shoot 308. I've never
Well,
shot 308.
that depends. So that depends on what you're looking for. So if I was building a 308, I would do no more than 20. It's a slightly underbore cartridge, for the case capacity is a relatively
Okay.
large caliber. You obviously get an advantage from a longer barrel in terms of velocity, not a ton. My 308 happens to be a 24-inch barrel, and that's basically because I got a barrel I got a free-proof barrel, and I didn't, and it's accurate and it works well. So,
Oh,
but
perfect.
the more overbore the cartridge is, the more you benefit from a longer barrel, right? So with the 6.5 Creed or 6 Creed or whatever else, you really benefit from a longer barrel more. The big thing with 308 was that why people kept on talking about 18-inch versus 24, 20 versus 24, is that it's a purely subjective thing. People are trying to get to 1,000 yards while still supersonic at sea level with 308, which doesn't always work well, especially not with the older bullets. And there, every little tiny bit of velocity matters. I live at 6,000 foot. My 308 is supersonic at 1,200 yards. Right. So, but if you are at sea level, that extra 50 foot per second of velocity
Yeah,
might actually be necessary.
that makes sense. I live at 4,600
Yeah.
feet, so bullets
Yeah.
will zip through the air up here.
Correct. Yeah. Like in the summer when it's warm, my density altitude is commonly close to 9,000 because it's hot
Yeah,
in that altitude.
yeah, I think we're close. We hang out in the high sevens and low
Yeah.
8,000s,
Yeah.
I think.
That sounds
Uh,
about right.
and that's when we're shooting from the valley floors. If you go up into the mountains, and
Yeah.
we'd be very very similar to what you're
There we
shooting.
go. All right. Mr. Northwest Guns in here. Derek, thank you for chiming in. I do appreciate that.
Howdy, Derek.
Okay, so you started because of this whole RPR business. I assume your first competition rifle was probably an RPR.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. If you go on our website, one of the pictures has a um, Cryptech. It was supposed to be like Arctic, but we changed the colors to be more grayscale. So it's a Cryptech Arctic gray rifle with some red accents on it.
Hmm.
That's the gun that started the business, basically.
Very cool.
It's got some prototype parts on it from some different companies and
Oh,
things. But
that's there is a thing that says Ruger Precision Accessories, and it's some sort of a painted. I don't know. Is it an RPR? Yeah, it looks like a painted RPR with the red bolt handle. Is that it?
yep, yep. Oh,
Uh,
if you scroll down farther, you can see me shooting it. Yeah, I'm shooting it off the tripod.
yeah. That's the
Yep,
picture I'm looking at.
yep. Yeah,
All
that,
right.
that was taken a couple of years ago. But
All right.
but the gun's been around the company since the very first day. So
Okay. So, what is your competition rifle now?
So I'm a practical person. Okay, so how about let's talk about what are some of the downfalls to a
So,
Ruger in
okay, so
PRS?
first of all, since we talked about it, here's a pic. That's the picture, right?
Yep, yep, right there.
I will say
So
this is the prettiest RPR I've ever seen.
there's some yeah, it's pretty. There are some other ones out there that will beat it. It was, I think, officially at one time the most accessorized Ruger Precision on the market. But I think it's been beat. Not that there's much more you can do to that. It's got aftermarket barrel on it, aftermarket handguard, aftermarket handle, bolt knob, mag release, bolt shroud,
So the only thing it has
firing
from the
pin.
original gun is the name. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, well, the butt stock. A lot of people don't like the butt stock. I I mean, I don't adore it, but I found the way if you read the manual of how to use it, I found it very functional. But a lot of people don't read the manual, and you end up breaking the clips and stuff.
Hmm.
But I found it very, very functional,
All right.
which is why it's still on there. So I currently, until just recently, was shooting the Ruger Precision. Um, what's it called? Custom Shop.
Okay.
The Ruger Precision Custom Shop is Ruger's um, base class PRS gun. It's a little heavier. It has the updated fire control mechanism in it. It comes with a handguard that has a built-in arc rail. I think it comes with a 30 MOA scope base on it, and it comes with a Fat Bastard brake on it.
Nice.
And it comes with a Trigger Tech filled
Wait a
trigger.
second. There is a brake that's called Fat Bastard.
Yeah, so
Oh, interesting.
APA
Usually, when
is
somebody says a fat bastard, I
American.
take it personally, but maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, actually, it has what's called a little bastard on it. So they
Okay.
have micro bastard, they got little bastard, then they have a fat bastard, which is like
Interesting.
seriously overboard. It's big, but it's by APA, America
Mhm.
Precision Armament, maybe. I don't know, but anyways, and it comes in a custom Cerakote gray color, and it comes with a Trigger Tech fill trigger,
Mhm.
which goes down to 20 ounces, and is a significant upgrade over the trigger that comes in them. So I shot that for a couple of years in in kind of base class. Works great. The only problem with the Ruger is you don't run it hard and fast. It has this weird dual cocking mechanism
Mhm.
where it's like click click, and when you do that, it rolls the gun off target. You have to like vice grip the gun when you do that slow.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you have to do it fast, and you're going to roll the gun anyways, just because
Yeah.
that the bolt body is so big and there's so much mass behind it that when you run that forward and you go down, you roll the gun. So the last two PRS matches I've shot has been with a Defiance Tenacity, built by Area 419 in a Matrix Pro chassis,
Mhm.
and I enjoyed. I mean, I enjoy the Matrix Pro. Sorry, they're in original Matrix chassis. I don't like the Pro. The Pro 4N's too wide for me. I don't like it. So I'm using the original Matrixes. I have two of them, one on my centerfire competition gun, and then one on my rimfire competition gun. So that's what I've used. Shooting 6 Creedmoor, shooting well the Ruger custom shop shoots 0.35 to point 0.5 with Hornady Black 105 ammo,
Oh, interesting.
which is like as cheap as you can get.
Hornady Black 105. That's 6 arc.
No, 4 6 Creedmoor.
6 Creed. Okay. Got
Yeah, shooting 6 Creedmoor.
it.
And I have some 109 Burger factory loaded bullets. I have 107 Sierras. I have some 108 Eagle match, and everything I put in that Ruger Precision. I mean, it shot everything, but those 105s, it shoots super well. Once you get past 1,300 yards, my dope's off, but most PRS matches don't go past 1,200.
Okay.
So I shot a target once at 1290. That was the size of a barn door, and I missed. I dropped like 2 or 3 mils below it, And which is funny, right? You got this barn door size target, and then he's got 8-inch hangers on each side.
Mhm.
I was able to correct and hit the 8-inch hanger twice, but I missed the barn door straight up. Missed it because I've never doped. I mean, 105 is going at 2950 or 3,000 feet per second. I mean, at 1,300 yards, they've lost a lot of their ability, and I had never doped it past that. But my calculator was correct until you got past 1,200 yards. So
That's not unusual. Like aside from the fact that it's hard to predict things going through transonic, also different bullets play differently. It's
yep.
you're familiar with the 136 grain Senar L bullet by Lapua?
Mm-hmm.
It's a 6.5 grit bullet, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when Lapua went from Senar to Senar L, Senar was a 139, Senar L is a 136. Everybody cried and complained because the new Senar L was a lower ballistic coefficient bullet, right? But what was not apparent, Lapua, as Max would correct me, uh, claimed it, and then when we tested it, it turned out to be true. And quite a few, even some government agencies, use it. That stupid 136 grain, although it's not as efficient to know that, is more stable and predictable through a transonic region than any other bullet I've ever seen.
That's cool. I've never played with the 136.
Not the sleekest, extremely forgiving of loading depth, and very, very consistent if you have to go through a transonic region. Go figure. Right?
Nice. That's interesting. So yeah, so I've shot the Ruger Precision 6 Creedmoor, and then I have a Defiance Tenacity that Area 419 built, the most accurate gun I've ever shot, and it does not like the 105s, and that's the last match I shot. I shot with it with a hurt back with the 105s, and I did decent with it, but I could tell that the gun didn't love the one. I mean, I missed shots that I knew I wouldn't have missed if I had the Ruger with the 105s, but this barrel was. I mean, it's probably close to 1,000 rounds on it, and it's a 6
Mhm.
Creed, so I could start be getting close to end of life, and I could be, or it just doesn't like the 105s. Like it didn't
That's
group on
possible.
paper very well.
Yeah.
Actually, I was quite disappointed, and I totally should have brought some 109s with me, but I just spaced it. It was one heck of a week, and I was traveling to Colorado to shoot the Guardian cameo match, and I spaced it. But I had a hurt back anyways. Couldn't walk. Hurt my back on Tuesday. Shot the match on Friday. couldn't
That's
walk in between there, so I
probably
did okay.
it's probably not an ideal arrangement, but then again, maybe your back was hurting, so you were particularly still.
It could be. Well, I had a good squad, and it's a Guardian match, so
Mhm.
my squad carried my rifle, and I could get in position before.
Oh,
I didn't
oh,
have to hold my gun and drop it. I could set it down and get in position.
oh,
And
okay, that's nice.
I
Okay,
had
so
some
there's a
adaptive stuff,
yeah.
but it's hard. It's fatiguing to shoot when you're hurt, man. I got up off my last stage, and my buddy Paul, who's a world class shooter, was like, "Don't sweat it." He's like, "You're hurting." He's like, "You can't predict what you're going to do behind the gun when you're hurting. So just have fun." And I shot decent. I mean, I was in the middle of the pack when we finished, so wasn't too bad for being a hurt guy. So,
That's
but yeah,
good.
that's what I'm currently using. So I alternate between a Ruger custom shop depending where I'm shooting, and I have a full Remington clone build that I use depending on the range and the distance. Both of them are 6 Creedmoors, so which I think I'll go back to the 6.5 when I've burned the barrels out. So
Yeah. Oh, hold on. So the Mr. Alpine goes, is that the one with the rebated boat tail? So that's about Lapo bullets. No, the rebated boat tail bullets are D46 and D166. They were the old. They were the old Mosin gun bullets for the most part. I have those. They shoot well in my old precision Mosins. I have a couple 2876s. The center Ls are the newer design. They look like perfectly conventional boat tail long range bullets, but the nose is a little bit different.
yeah, they don't look sexy at all.
Yep.
They
They
look
don't.
like just a generic Botel Hollow Point.
Yep.
That's crazy.
There are a couple of units in the soccer world that specifically use 6.5 Creed ammo with that bullet because of what it does, how consistent it is past the transonic world.
I mean, a 274 isn't a shabby BC, but it's it's not a 3.5 or a 3.9
No,
like some
it's
of the other
nothing.
bullets.
It's nothing crazy. No.
Wonder if anyone loads factory ammo with that. That'd be fun to try.
Lapo, I think, does. At least they used to. I don't know. It's been a little while. So I'm shooting 6.5 Creed, but I basically I'm gonna be. I'm not an especially. I'm not an especially good shot, right? So it's a thing. I talk about shooting a lot, and I have a good intellectual understanding of what's involved. I'm not an especially good shot. If I enjoyed playing with different equipment a little less, and had the capability of just sticking with something and practicing, I'd be a lot better. I don't have that ability. I like gear too much. But for the NRL Hunter match I'm going to shoot in January, I'm shooting Hornadys 147 grain factory ammo. It's good enough. It's about 3/4 of an MOA out of my gun, which is more than enough for my purposes for NRL Hunter. Like the ammo or the gun is not going to be the limiting factor. So
Yeah, I probably wouldn't hit anything because I have a hard time with target acquisition.
well, that's not my strength either. But if I hit something once in a while, I'm happy. I don't have any real expectations.
Are you gonna shoot with a buddy? Because you can do team. You can do team hunter where it's
So,
two of you.
yeah. So this one, it's the weekend before SHOT Show. So when you and I talk at SHOT, you're gonna hear all sorts of excuses. But it's what they call the pro am match, professional amateur, where when you sign up for it, you tell them which one you are, and I'm decidedly an amateur, and they'll pair you up with the pro, and the pro goes through and shoots the stage, and you can watch him, and then you shoot the same stage, having that benefit, and the pro can offer feedback and input and stuff.
That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do.
Well, I think you're a little bit too good for that, but for me, that's perfect.
Nah. I mean, I do okay. What I struggle with is target acquisition, right? So it would be glassing and that type of stuff. But
Well, again, so I have
it'd
an
be fun.
advantage there. I'm probably gonna borrow some really fancy binocular with laser rangefinder. And again, from the standpoint of knowing, understanding the gear, understanding the ballistic, understanding the tools, I don't have that problem. But where I am weak is positional shooting.
Okay. Okay.
So it's the actual shooting where I'm the weakest. And everything else, I generally know what I'm doing.
Just got to get yourself an octopod.
What did you just call me?
I said you got to get yourself an octopod.
What is an octopod?
So last year at Black Friday, MDT posted an 8 extension bipod. So it had 8 legs, like eight extensions. So it'd be like 7 feet tall. And they posted that as a funny marketing meme for their last year's Black Friday or April Fools. I can't remember.
That's got to be April Fool.
Yeah, it was like April Fools. It was like just this ginormous one.
But funny.
But a double pull or a triple pull, I mean, that's the hunter guys use those. Or
yeah, I have a triple
or shoot off the top of your tripod.
So I practice off the tripod all the time. I do have a triple pull. I just did a video on that. Really enjoyed it. So I'm keeping that one. A lot of it comes down to practice.
Where are you? Oh, you're in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, I'm in Albuquerque. Yeah.
So I took a class from. Well, actually, I hosted a class by Capable Inc. And my buddy Tony, who works in the dark areas of the world, but he taught me how to use a tripod, how to deploy a tripod, using my body measurements of how to set it and how to set it fast. And once I started doing that, I could clip into it and I could shoot reasonably quickly and fast at the appropriate height. And so that was something cool. I've been in this game for 9 years, and one thing I have learned is I won a spot to Bryce Bergen's long range shooters of Utah class, and I took my dad. I gave it to my dad, but because I've I'm friends with Bryce. I've been in the game for a long time. He told me just to come and hang out, and I learned several things from his class that changed my competitive nature
Yeah.
of PRS.
Sure.
Respiratory pause,
Mm-hmm.
better body alignment, mile per hour gun in the wind,
Mm-hmm.
kind of just a few things that I had never thought about.
Okay.
And one of the drills that we did is we shot groups on paper at 100 yards with our eyes closed
Mm-hmm.
using respiratory pause. I've never shot a group so small in my life. Like
I can
single hole 5 round group with my
I
eyes
can tell you a
closed.
story. I can tell you a story about that.
So,
I just took
so
a yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to encourage people to take
Mm-hmm.
classes.
Yeah.
So I hosted a 2 day long range class from a guy who's used to shooting human beings. It was a very different approach than what a precision civilian shooter does. There's a lot more give when you're shooting a man-sized target versus and like I've been in the rimfire world for the last couple of years, heavy. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not exactly perfect on your range, on your distance, on your wind, you're gonna miss the target. And one thing I learned from his class is if you're shooting big targets, man, you got some massive leeway. You can range something within 30 yards and still hit it.
Yeah.
Like you got this huge, which was a very interesting perspective when I took his class because I'm used to like if it's a 2 MOA target and I miss it, I feel like crap. And when you realize like in the real world, 2 MOA targets don't exist.
Yeah.
They're much bigger targets. But
So
so I encourage people to go out and train. Go get training, even though you may think you've been in the sport a long time and whatever. I've learned stuff from every class I've gone to. Now I've also been a smart aleck in the class, but I've learned every time I've gone to a class.
So I enjoyed taking classes on this earlier this year. For the first time, I actually took a long range class. So I've taken a lot of classes over the years, but it's usually handgun or carbine, a little bit of shotgun. Because in order to get my wife's absolution to go take a class, that means I'm taking somebody else, and then I have to go with them. And other than me, none of my friends care about long range. So I've done a lot of classes not on long range. This September, I went to Wisconsin and Vortex has a shooting academy called the Edge, and I took the long range class, which I enjoyed immensely, learned a ton. I would love to do it again. If you're in Wisconsin, I was really impressed with the instructors. Edge does a good job, but there are plenty of very good instructors out there. Like for long range, honestly, one of the best would be one of Frank Galley's class from Sniper Side.
I can't stand Frank. I'm sorry.
Frank's a good. I like Frank. I know a lot of people who don't like Frank, right? So I like Frank. I get along well with him. He's a good shot. He's a good instructor.
Oh, I think I have his book. I actually have a signed copy of his book that I picked up from a Guardian match that I shot with Frank.
Mhm.
I think he does great. And a lot of the intro classes, I mean, most people can teach could teach a long range class if you've been in the industry for a while because it's the basics.
Yeah.
You need to come to Utah, Ilya. Next Shot Precision does a positional class. Bryce Bergen's starting to do a level
So
2 class where it's all
tell me next
positional.
time you're doing a class around there, I'll come over. It's not that far.
Yeah, we're I think in August we'll do one again with my friend who hides in the shadows. But
Okay.
but
Sounds good.
but yeah, he was really good. We're planning one in August, I think, and then I think I'll go up to Montana and help him do a 2 day sniper class. He's gonna model it off of the Army sniper competition, which he's shooting. He's shooting this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how he does and off the international sniper competition. So he's going to do kind of a civilian one on a property in Montana in August, late August, I think,
Mhm.
and it should be really interesting. I think I'm going to go up and help him and check it out. But
That's very cool.
yeah, go out and get trained, guys. Go get some education. Learn how to use your gear and where it applies. But yeah, we can talk rimfire or we can go any direction you want.
So let's do a couple of quick things. There are a couple of comments here. Mr. Baron Flyer is talking about 308 and said if you're going with a 20-inch barrel, you're leaving some potential on the table. That's generally correct. It just depends on how unwieldy of a rifle you want. And Robbie is saying that was for April's Fools, the octopod. I would imagine so, right? So
No,
there's
it
no
was so
stability.
funny.
Yeah, there was no. There's. I bet a bunch of people, for God knows what reason, wanted it, but there is no good. It's not. I've had this discussion with multiple people how to make something stable, and it's remarkable how few people understand that it takes 3 points to define a plane. Adding more legs will not make it more stable.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah,
Balance of the rifle. I think Ilya is the most important thing
correct.
for stability shooting.
Hmm.
I love teaching people. I love taking new shooters to 22 competitions because you don't have to worry about recoil. It's not expensive, and you can work them on the clock or after the clock on body position. I love shooting with new shooters. I'll always put a new shooter in a squad that I shoot in if I can because it's just fun. Because it sucks to get just bludgeoned, right? A PRS competition, an NRL 22 competition, they're not easy,
Yeah.
right? And it's humbling. You can be the best shooter in the world, but it's a different style of shooting, and it's humbling, and it's fun to teach people. I love to teach people. I have an employee. She is a 3-time national rodeo champion. 22 shooter. It's I don't remember what they call. There's a name for it, but it's like standing, sitting, kneeling, 8-pound rifle,
Hmm.
10x magnified, 50 yards, whatever. I don't remember what it is. I took her to her first NRL competition and she mopped the floor. She had one bad stage, otherwise she'd been in the top 3 or 4. But instead of she's in the top 15. But it was fun to show her because she's never dialed a turret.
Hmm.
She's never ran a turret. She's never shot different yardages and off different props. So it was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
But
Yeah, I'm slowly teaching my kids. So if I get a chance to come to a class in the summer when they're on a break, I'm bringing at least one of them with me.
yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun because we could recommend several different instructors in the state of Utah that are extremely good. Maybe one of these days I'll teach, but
Any
I'm a
one
little
of them
busy
is
for
good.
that.
Is good enough for me. So I do a lot of smart alecky stuff, but in between things, not while we're shooting. So
Yeah. Yep.
so I do want to talk about rimfire, but before we do that, so Robbie was trying to make a joke here. How about the projectiles with the small cameras on them to see your long range
Oh,
impacts?
yeah. Vortex is bullet cam or whatever they called it.
So, what Vortex did not know is that one of the places where I've worked, we actually had a project where we had 50 cal bullets with small cameras in the nose, trying to figure out where exactly they're going and whether we can steer them a little bit. It didn't quite pan out, but we put cameras and bullets and they were shot and we looked at it.
It doesn't surprise me. DARPA money spends easy.
Pretty much. It was not
Yeah.
DARPA, but yeah.
So,
DARPA also had a project like that. We had a different one.
I mean, we do it with missiles. So they're a little
Uh,
bigger though.
yeah, you know what I do for my day job, right?
Oh yeah. We know what you play. You play with the real toys.
Yeah, I should not be this bloodthirsty, but almost every missile that blows up in Russia or Middle East, almost every one of them has my fingerprints on it. I'm quite happy about that. There's a certain moral satisfaction. It's the first time in my life I actually get to see all this stuff in use because normally we just make this and nobody ever uses it.
Oh yeah. Nope. Okay. Okay.
Now I
Perfect.
know that the stuff really works. Uh, all right, let's talk rimfire a little bit. So, what do you shoot for rimfire?
Okay. So I started my rimfire journey with a CZ 457. Um, that area with a Bartlett barrel on it. Area 419 put it together for me. I work a lot with Area 419. I find those guys to be fascinating and fun, and they've always taken good care of me. And of Ilya, I recommended Ilya to them for a scope ring review, and they took me serious, and they sent him out a pair. So,
Yeah. Well, Craig was here 2 weeks ago with me, so
oh, good,
I
nice.
I really enjoyed the conversation with Craig. Like
Craig is a
they do really
good
cool stuff.
dude.
Yeah.
So.
And to be fair, that is the best scope mount I've seen to date. So
Yeah, I had another company send me a new scope mount and was like, "Hey, would you like to stock these?" And I was like, "Thank you, I'll look at it." And I decided not to because it still has the same flaw that you know well.
yes,
I won't name drop anybody, but it has a potential flaw, and I shoot in extreme cold. I love shooting in the extreme cold, and the design flaw just does not handle the extreme cold. So
correct. So look, the truth is that there are several very high quality mounts over there, out there. Nothing is 100% perfect. Depending on application, I may recommend a different one. But for what it's worth, on the guns that matter for me, I'm switching everything to Area 419 mount. Make of it what you will. So there you go.
yeah, I have a couple of these, and I love them.
Yeah,
They're
I have a
awesome.
34 and a 36 millimeter one. So and they are impressive. Would I do something different? Maybe a couple of things, but honestly, they have a new one coming out that fixes every complaint I've had on them for hunting rifles.
That's why Craig is out to see you. So, but
Yeah,
I mean, and that's part of product maturity is you have to take something to market to get feedback on it.
yeah,
So and
that's
we do that. We do that all the time. I mean, I have a product right here in my hand where we've had the customer probably wouldn't notice, but we've had 5 or 6 iterations on this, and now it's in its final state.
so. What is that?
So this is what we call the mag flag.
Oh, okay.
It is a chamber. It is a chamber flag slash mag block bolt stop.
Hmm.
So you put this is for a rimfire. You put this up in the rimfire, and then your bolt stopped here, but you can still have a round in the chamber. So this goes into the chamber to make sure it's clear.
Oh, that's very
So you
cool.
pop it back,
Yeah,
drop it out. So
yeah,
yeah, it is
that's
pretty
nice.
cool because we had our first copycat show up on the market.
That
But
means you really made it. Somebody's trying to copy you.
yeah, there are a few iterations behind it, but
Yeah.
but it's what it
So,
is.
so rimfire is where I had a chance to use some of Anarchy Outdoor products. I don't shoot CZ. I shoot with a Tikka T1X, which I really enjoy. One of these days, I'm gonna buy another Voodoo. I have a 17 HMR Voodoo, and that's freaking remarkable. One of these days, I'll get a 22 one. But for now, the T1X is good enough, and I have what I have from you. I have a longer bolt handle with a different bolt knob, and I have your scope base. But the scope base is extremely nicely done. You dehorned all the edges. I don't cut my hand on this thing anymore. It's like that it's not doesn't reference on the edges; it reference on the planes.
Yep, I mean, we've played in the scope base business for a little bit, and we've learned a few things. Some of our first scope bases wouldn't work with certain types of mounts. We learned how to cut the edges correctly. We learned how to
Mhm.
bevel and not bevel and all sorts of stuff, right? And again, it's part of the game of figuring it out. You have to release a product to market without 100% testing because it's almost impossible to do that. But you try not to do that, and it's a game we play. And unfortunately, we have a couple customers that have gotten products that were probably subpar, but we've always swapped them out once we fixed them. And we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If even if you don't like the product, you can send it back to us. So, because a lot of our products you have to try them. Like one of our number one selling products is the Ruger Precision and American handle, and it makes a huge difference. And you don't know that until you put one in the gun. I had a buddy at the range. He just bought a brand new Gen 2 6.5 Ruger American. And I was
Mhm.
like, dude, just here. I gave him a bolt knob. I said, just change the bolt knob. And he's like, dude, that changed the feel of the gun. I was like, yeah. Now come down to the shop and we'll put a handle on it. And you'll really see that it just changes the lever point. It changes the feel of the action, all sorts of
Mhm.
stuff. But we're getting sidetracked. So rimfire. I shoot a Voodoo. Oh, so I started with a CZ 455, 457, Area 419 mount. I ran various optics on it, from the very cheap to the very expensive. We're talking, I think, Athlon Aries ETR. I've ran. Trying to think. I think I ran an NX8 Night Force on it. I ran an ATACR on it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The gun currently has a Athlon Midas tack on it. I use it as a loaner rifle.
Mm-hmm.
It currently has an IBI barrel on it. Something
IPI?
happened to my.
Is that
Yeah,
like a Canadian company?
they're out of Canada. IBI.
Okay.
Um, I'm still playing with the accuracy of it a little bit. It had a Bartland barrel on it from Area 419, and it shot bug holes for a couple of years, and then something happened to it. I don't know if I cleaned it wrong, if I did something wrong, but I'm not even kidding you. You know those cardboard backers that you put at ranges? I hit the top and bottom of that one day at 50 yards. Like, I had like a 16-inch group, and I took the barrel off of it, and I haven't figured out why. I mean, it went, like, I have pictures of it when it was brand new, shooting dime-sized groups, same ammo, and then I got so frustrated fighting through it that I decided to order a Voodoo. I decided to go all in. I ordered a Voodoo. I currently shoot a 24-inch, 1.2 straight tapered barrel Voodoo in a MPA Matrix chassis.
Okay.
And the reason I went with a 24-inch straight taper is my gun perfectly balances with no added weight.
Very cool.
Chassis, barrel, that's it. Weighs 21 pounds. And when you set it up on a prop, on a tank trap, on a sawhorse, it sits perfect. So when I come around the gun, it doesn't have to interface with me. I trap it and I run the bolt, and I try not to let it touch me, like more than it should. And it's been very successful. My scores in the NRL went up exponentially, and I don't think it was the gun per se. It was confidence in the system, the whole system. And I think it was the balance. I didn't realize how important the balance of a PRS rifle is. It needs to be able to sit at its pivot point without moving. And I think my CZ was a little inaccurate. I just didn't have the confidence in the gun, because when you shot really well with a rifle and then it stops shooting, but your skill set continues to improve, it gets really discouraging. And I was like, man, I know I'm better than this. I've practiced. I just don't understand. And then I shot a match with a loaner Voodoo, and I was like, it's not me. There's something seriously wrong with my gun. Now, I'm not knocking CZs. They are amazing guns. There was something wrong with my gun. Not with the CZ 457. It's still one of the most, I recommend two factory guns, the Tikka T1X, which is probably the most accurate from gun to gun that I've seen. And then the CZ 457. They're smooth. They run well. Their magazines feed correctly every single time. They're great. I ran mostly Lapua Center X, SK, and I tried some Ely Match, some 10X. I spent a year trying to get my gun to shoot correctly, and I finally gave up and put a new barrel on it.
So since
that was answering Robbie's reloading room.
I see that. Since the ammo question came up, I will add. So Robbie says his CZ likes SK Match. It's a good ammo.
So my CZ hated it.
Each gun is a ruler to itself. I shoot a T1X. I don't shoot a CZ. I have a lot of mileage with them in the past, but more with the old 452s that I really liked. But
we've been asked to make a bolt handle for the 452, and I can't justify it.
Yeah, but anyhow, so if you are anywhere near one of the Lapua rimfire centers, it is worth your while, once the barrel is reasonably broken in, to go there and have them shoot it in a tunnel, test different lots, and once you find a lot that shoots well, just stock up. I did it with a couple of guns. I bought 10,000 rounds of Center X that shoots consistently through my gun. It is not a Voodoo, but it is accurate, and it's more than good enough should I decide to shoot in an RL22 match.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't have to be a Voodoo, right? Yeah. It really depends on the gunsmith that puts your Voodoo together. It really depends on who's doing it at Voodoo at the time. My gun shoots extremely well, but I own a business. I'm big in social media. My gun, it gets used a lot. We slugged the barrel of my gun. They handpicked my barrel out of a stack of barrels. Which slugging a barrel means they run a 22 slug through your
Mm-hmm.
barrel, and at its tightest point, that's where they cut the barrel.
Yeah.
Right, because you want the crown, that very last, to be the
Mm-hmm.
tightest part of the barrel.
Right.
So they cut mine at 24 inches. One, because I wanted it close to that length. I was like, make it 20 to wherever, and they cut it at 24 inches because that's where the point was. So my Voodoo was a little more hand picked and put together. But if you go to a company like DI Precision or some of these other 22 builders, they build incredible guns with some radical things. You got 13.5 twists, you got 12 twists. What I have found, and I have a friend with a bunch of different Voodoos and different twist rates, the 1 in 16 still works extremely well. Like, unless you want to be like a complete nerd, I just stick with 1 in 16. The 1 in 13s are interesting, but the jury they're still being tested. But yeah, I mean, it's fun, and Ilya wanted me to chat a little bit about why I do the 22.
Mm-hmm.
I got into it because of COVID. Ammo got expensive, primers got expensive, powder got expensive, and I just got into it because of that, and I don't have to travel as far. I can drive an hour and a half. I can drive 40 minutes. Whereas for centerfire, I'm driving 3-4+ hours in different directions. And you can shoot 100 rounds of 22 ammo, expensive 22 ammo, for 10 or 15 bucks versus, $200 in ammo, and then 4 hours of drive time each way. Like, it was a lot more economical, and I find the rimfire shooters to be a little less intensive. It's I can go and kind of joke around, and I can shoot something that's not super pressured. I live in a very stressful world. I have a day job, multiple businesses, kids, wife, and and I love to shoot centerfire, but like, it's a different stress level to shoot centerfire than it is rimfire. Like,
Yeah,
because every time you pull the trigger on a centerfire, you want to do your best because it's expensive. You have to worry about more factors and different things. In the rimfire, I can just go have fun. Have fun, and it's just
I generally agree with you. I will add those. So in my experience, NRL Hunter, NRL 22 crowd is just a little bit more laid back and welcoming. In the PRS, with the race gun people, they are amazing shots, but they sometimes take the world a little bit too seriously, in my opinion.
They take the world a little too serious, and I used to shoot with the guys so the one thing, and this isn't a knock to PRS, but the best PRS shooters want to shoot in the squad together, right? We call them power squads.
Yep.
Right. You don't get as big of a dispersion of talent as you get in the NRL stuff. And I'm a middle of the pack centerfire shooter. I'm typically in the top 20 of a rimfire, right? And I shoot in one of the most competitive rimfire monthly matches in the country, right? Last month we had a girl not drop a single round. Second place dropped 1 round. Third place dropped 2. Fourth place dropped 3. No, there was a tie at third or something, but like, I took 11th. I dropped 7 rounds. Like, I haven't shot since June. Been doing baseball with one of my kids, but so I was rusty. I knew I was rusty, and I dropped 7 points and took 11th place. So,
well, I don't have your problems. Like I said, I'm in the run and gun competition for the bottom 3 spots. So,
yeah. But for centerfire, I've been in last place, and I shoot in the middle of the pack, and I do enjoy the centerfire. I took the centerfire class, or I hosted a centerfire class, and that got me to pull my centerfire rifle back out, and I started itching and playing. I took a handgun class from him in June, and now I want to run and gun. So I've taken a little bit of a step back from the competitions lately. Last year, I dedicated myself to winning a trophy, and I shot every month, didn't miss a month, and I shot extremely well. I took second place in the series, and because of that, I burned myself out a little bit.
Okay.
So I've taken a little bit of a step back, but now it's winter time. There's no baseball for my son. I'll go shoot. I'll go shoot probably every month again, and then come baseball season, I'll pull back again. But I really want to run and gun with a handgun. I just want to try it. So I was with my buddy at the end of the pistol class. None of us were beginners in the pistol class, so we went through his curriculum really fast. And at the end of it, he's like, "Hey, we're going to start shooting and moving and doing things." And he set up a drill where you take 5 pieces of a stick and you put it in an X, and you start in the center. You can either draw, or you draw on the buzzard, or whatever, and you have to go to each point of the X and fire one round back to center, one round, and you do it's an X drill. I don't know. I shot it with 0 experience in 19 seconds, and then I shot it again in 15.5 or something, and I got hooked. So I haven't gone and done one yet, but I have a CZ Shadow 2 custom shop, and I'm trying to decide if I send it out to be milled or if I just shoot open sights with it. So,
all right, we can have the mill discussion in a moment. There are a couple of questions, and I'll tell you a little bit why I decided to finally shoot competitions. So, Mr. Cuntbucket says, I have a bit of a noob question. I normally prefer the balance point of my rifles pretty far back, just in front of the trigger guard, under the magazine for hunting.
Yeah, that's your pivot point.
Yeah, on a normal AR-style M-lock handguard, do you all think weights could shift it forward enough to try PRS? My rifles are typically around 8 to 9.5 pounds.
So on a normal M-lock style handguard, it's all about weight, right? So set your AR down on a bag. I'm a Game Changer guy. Yeah, I think it's the best bag made.
I shoot with a Game Changer X. Yeah.
Go buy a Game Changer, put it on there, set it down. If it tilts up, you need weight on the front. If it tilts forward, you need weight on the back. And there's a lot of companies that make M-lock style weights. Dependability, MDT, Gray Ops. There's a bunch of them. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that. Yeah. XLR makes them. I always forget about XLR. KRG makes them too. I think now everybody makes some M-lock weights. So I like Dependability. He's a friend of mine.
Yeah, I have some stuff from that. That's a Sawtooth, right?
Yeah. So that picture of my rifle, that aluminum arc rail, was his first RPR prototype.
Oh, that's very cool.
So he's just down the road from us. He's like an hour south of us, and he's a cool dude. So he sends me raw prototypes all the time because I think it's our 5.56 RPR has a raw scope base on it and has a bunch of raw parts. So he just thinks it's cool to add to it. So it's fun.
Anyhow, let's get back to the question. So one thing that you didn't mention that I think needs to be mentioned. So for Mr. Cuntbucket, the way to figure out the balance, you put a 20 round or whatever magazine in your rifle, AR, or whatever you're shooting. Put a bag on top of the plate on a tripod, on a barricade, something. Jam it forward so that the magazine is up against the bag. Many people miss this part. And in this position, look at the balance. You will probably need to add some weights up front, given what rifle this is and the weight. But it's really important to have a Game Changer is going to have, but it's going to have this long. You want to lay it out longitudinally, so for the most contact between the handguard and the bag. Jam the magazine into the back of the bag and adjust the weights so that you're perfectly steady in that position.
Yeah, you should be able to walk away from your gun and it not move.
Correct. So for my competition gun, for the fix that I shoot, it's a relatively lightweight gun with a very lightweight stock. I don't need any weights. I shoot with a suppressor and the balance is just perfect. But for my T1X, I have it in the XLR chassis. But because T1X is a fairly skinny barrel, I needed to add a couple of weights up front for it to balance. a little bit
and
better.
and it depends on what you're using the gun for, right? Um, if you're a normal style, try PRS. I will tell you, semi-automatics are at a disadvantage in
Yeah,
PRS. They're just
of
not as
course.
inherently accurate as a bolt gun. But if it's the only gun you have, go out and shoot it. So
Doesn't
what
PRS
what
do
you
gas gun matches also?
no that yeah they have a gas gun class,
Okay.
which is got a lot less people in it because most people don't shoot gas guns. So if you're going to get into PRS and you want to be able to take a shot at a trophy, shoot gas gun. Right? There'll always be one really good guy who shoots gas gun because he likes trophies.
Yeah.
But shoot gas gun, and what you're trying to in PRS, what you're trying to eliminate is muzzle rise. Right? You want recoil to come straight back
Mhm.
and maybe a little side to side, but you're trying to defeat muzzle rise. So the most important thing you can do is add weight to balance the rifle and then put a device on the end of your gun that will keep it flat. So this is a good muzzle brake or a suppressor that has directional ports like KGM makes one,
Mhm.
Thunderbeast makes one, the Area 419 Maverick is a great one. Um, but then if you don't go suppressor, you go
Oh, there you go. It's a bolt gun. He's got a
oh
Ruger America with a Sharps Brothers chassis.
oh yeah, okay, so you've got yeah, so that's perfect. So you can number one, you're going to want an arc rail on the bottom of it. So Area 419 makes an arc rail that you can add weights to. So does Gray Ops. I think those are the two big ones. I don't know. The Pendabilt has one. He might. Sawtooth Arms, he might have one. I'm not sure. So that's what I would go. Go get an M-Lock Arc Rail that you can add weights to, and then play with your balance. A Ruger American is an accurate enough gun for PRS, depending on what part of the country you're in. Most PRS matches are 2 to 3 MOA targets out to 800 yards. If
Mhm.
you live in the West, you'll see 1,200 yards, maybe 14. But they're very rare because getting out that far, there's a certain caliber of shooter that can hit it every time, and most people can't. Not on with one or two shots
So,
typically. So
from the relatively little that I know about this, you'd know a lot more. My basic recommendation is that if you have a gun that can shoot 1 MOA or better when you're prone, unless you are seriously good and think you're going to be in a competition for the first place, it's good enough to start.
yep,
Get a good muzzle brake on it, get some consistent ammo, make sure you've got your drops, wind, everything properly worked out, make sure you know how to compensate for wind quickly. That's what Aaron was talking about as MPH guns and all that. If you don't know what it is, go take a class. But if you have about 1 MOA gun or a little better, the last thing you need is to be buying a new gun. Unless you're me and you care about the gun more than about shooting. That's different. But if you want to go shoot, taking a class, getting consistent ammo, getting competent with your gun is going to make a bigger difference than buying a super fancy gun.
yep, yep. And that's the great thing. Like Arrow Precision
Hmm.
now makes an action and decent prefits for like $1,200,
Yeah.
and then you add the
What's
chassis
the
of
name
your
of the company? I
choice.
don't. I don't think I know those
It's
guys.
Arrow Precision, the AR company.
Arrow, the Solus.
Arrow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Solus. Yep.
So I have so so that's a story I promised you. So the reason I got interested in competition, and believe me, I'll get to the Arrow in a moment. The reason I got interested in competition last summer, I had a chance to go watch Burris's optics challenge up in Wyoming. It's a team match. It's two guys, one with a precision rifle and a handgun, another one with a semi-auto and a handgun. But it's still oriented toward longer range, but you'd use everything. It's an extremely fun match. I thought it was a blast. You shoot all three guns, although it's more rifle oriented. But with all of those, there is time pressure, but you have to be accurate, which kind of appeals to me. I thought it was a blast. So I conspired if I'm going to shoot it next June. A friend of mine is going to team up with me. If you have not shot that match, you would enjoy it immensely. But you do not want to do it when your back is injured. because there's about a mile of hiking between stages. You have to carry everything on you. It's not super rigorous, but there is some walking with gear. It's a blast. So NRL Hunter for me, to a good degree, is preparation for that. So I'm gonna shoot this NRL Hunter match in January or the weekend before shot. Then I'm gonna shoot one in Colorado in the very beginning of April like second, third, or something like that. So you want to shoot NRL Hunter? Come join me there. That should be fun.
I'll have to take a look and see.
I'll send you the dates.
Tikka.
So and then I'm gonna shoot one in Wyoming. So the first.
Hello. Sorry, I took my headphones off and I'm echoing like crazy, but I'm good. I'm good. I'm back.
You sound fine to me. I think he called you a dope. I don't know. Like he seemed like a perfectly normal person to me. I don't know why he called him a dope.
Thanks for calling me a dope.
But anyhow, so
I do have an addiction, but it's not to dope. It's to gunpowder.
That is, that's. I think we share that. But anyhow, so my plan is first to shoot it with my fix, suppressed and all that. But I have a Stag Pursuit bolt gun in 6.5 PRC that I really like. I shot an antelope with it back in August. I really like that gun. And I realized that with NRL Hunter, that is one of the rifles that's allowed in the production, the factory class, whatever it's called. But it needs to be under 12 pounds. 6.5 PRC, the 12-pound gun, is not something that's the easiest thing to shoot. It's a little bit too much cartridge for this. On one hand,
you got to mitigate that recoil.
On the other hand, I have one. I like it. It is accurate. And I'm going to get one of those brakes from Craig from Area 419 and mess with it a little bit. And I think I practiced with it a little bit a couple of weeks ago without that brake, just bare muzzle. You've met, I'm a fairly large, beefy guy. I can soak up a lot of recoil. I think with a decent brake that can hold the muzzle down, I can shoot that gun. I'm going to put a lightweight scope on it. I'm going to get it under 12 pounds. And I'm going to... Toward the end of it, after the Wyoming, the team challenge, I'm going to try that. That's going to be interesting.
You know what? I don't have a lot of rounds through their match break. That's something I need to try. I'll have to do that. Time to get back out to the range.
Oh, no, it's tragic. It's horrible. It's such a chore, right?
Yeah, it's a chore. I have some really nice ranges around me, and I have my own private range. I don't know if I can get to it in the wintertime, though. That's something I've got to figure out this year. If I can get to I have a friend with property that I use. I'm starting to put plates all over it, but getting out there in the wintertime, he said, is difficult. So I'll have to try it out.
Yeah. But I have a range that I'm a member of. So it's a private range, but it's not my private range. It's half hour from my house, and one of the nice things it has a 100-yard tunnel. So if I want to really establish a zero, do load development, etc., I can actually do it indoors, which is nice.
Yep. Good old 100-yard tunnels.
Hey,
but yeah, so we've covered. We covered rimfire, PRS.
I think we've covered the competitive stuff relatively well. I do want to talk a little bit more about Anarchy Outdoors, what else you guys carry. You've talked about the various Ruger products. I've mentioned, so I have some Tikka products from you. You're the importer for this Slovenian clothing company, UF Pro, I think, something like that.
Yeah, so we are the American distributor for a Slovenian uniform company. They're called UF Pro. They make some of the nicest uniform gear, winter gear, summer gear, tactical gear on the market. They are Cry Precision's #1 competitor. And their gear is phenomenal. They're from their pants to their hoodies. They make a hoodie that is unbelievable. They released it last year.
I gotta ask now, what makes a hoodie unbelievable? It's a hoodie,
dude. It's soft. It's supple. The arms are the appropriate length. The cool thing is it was sitting on the floor down here. I have two of them. So like when you put the hood down, it actually like could cover your face correctly, but still give you neck mobility, right? Because it's built to be worn by guys that are, carrying a weapon and are trying to be alert and things. It's just, I gave one to my brother-in-law this week because he tried mine on and was super jealous. I gave him one. And he's like, I thought you were joking when you said this was the nicest hoodie you ever owned. He's like, I don't think I'll take this off. And my wife is trying to steal it. Like they're just soft. They're good looking. They are, they're just well designed. Everything UF Pro makes is super well designed. It's designed to fit the human body correctly and to be functional. That's the biggest thing I think with their gear is if you wear their gear, you can function in it. They love to have this dude in their videos roundhouse kicking people. And I think if Chuck Norris was younger, he would be their like their poster child.
If they need somebody who can kick people, I'll volunteer. Once again, you know what I do for fun, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's just phenomenal gear. We work with so we're their law enforcement liaison in the United States. So if law enforcement contacts them, they pass them to us. We work with law enforcement. We've done deals with anything from university police to Texas Rangers to the Air Force to the dog patrol cops at the DNC to the police for the inauguration of Sleepy Joe. We've done deals all over the place. Taxpayer money, man. It spends easy at my shop.
Okay, Mr. The X is being as smart as kicking liberals. Perfect.
Yeah, but
so it just so happens that I don't see a whole lot of them volunteering to be kicked, and kicking people against their will is, as I'm told, against the law, which means never to be done in front of witnesses.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, so they make coats. One cool thing I like about most of their pants is you can zip a winter liner into them. So there's a Gore-Tex liner that goes in them, kind of like a thermal. Mm-hmm. It has to be extremely cold for it to be uncomfortable. Like I wear those, and then I layer on top. Their winter gear is phenomenal. They iterate quite a bit. Their Gen 4 coats are made with a material that just is water resistant, because you can't say water repellent without sealing the seams and things. Mm-hmm. But I was outside in a snowstorm, and when I was done shooting, my buddy literally wiped the snow off my back, perfectly dry. Like just wiped the snow off my back. And yesterday in the parking lot, I did a demonstration for someone where I pulled a bottle of water out, and I was like, I just ceramic coated this, nothing sticks to it. And I dumped the bottle of water right onto my coat, and it just beaded and shot everywhere. So they make some cool stuff. They just released some blue jeans. They have some shorts that are actually like shorts. They've done some tactical shorts, and they're really hot and heavy. They finally made some. They call them Ranger shorts, even though I explained Ranger panties to them, and they still stuck with the name.
What's this Ranger panties?
So just Google it.
Okay. I'm not sure I want that in my search history.
Ranger Regiment. So the United States Ranger Regiment, right, has what they call Ranger panties. They are their PT gear. Okay. Just imagine hugging shorts, and that's what they are. They're super small, and they hug and they show everything, and that's why they're called nut huggers, and that's why they're called.
That's a good thing. I did the search for that.
I'll send you a picture. Don't worry.
No, it's okay.
But so I was telling their marketing guy, like, this, when you say this in America, this is what comes up in people's minds. So they left it anyways. They left it with Ranger shorts, but they just released a tropical jungle uniform. That's super quick drying and permeable for like jungle warfare. They have some really cool. You have to really nerd out on materials to understand no drip, no melt versus fire retardant like FR gear, but they have a really cool FR gear. That they've got they have some really cool stuff. The glues and the polymers and different things they use. They are currently working on seeing if they can figure out how to make a uniform to help defeat IR. It's just really challenging, and you understand the challenges of that.
Yeah,
Right, making
so
a
the
material that
equipment
would
that's used to measure signature for different materials is what we make for one of the many things we make for my day job.
yeah, and you
It's
understand how hard that is. And they're
it's not
trying to come up
straightforward.
with something. There is a certain color of material that will defeat the IR of civilian stuff, like doorbells and things. There's
Yeah,
a very specific color, which we learned working with SWAT teams. There's a very specific color that doesn't negate it completely, but it helps significantly.
it cuts down on
Yes,
how
it cuts down
reflective it
on
is in the
yep,
near infrared. Yes.
yeah, cuts down on the infrared and things like that. So we work with UF Pro. UF Pro got purchased by a company called Mueller Group a couple years ago. They also purchased a company called Linderhof
Hmm.
Tactique, which is a German plate carrier web gear company, and they make some incredible stuff. Our rep will actually be in from Germany this week in the shop, so we've been working with them because they've seen what we did with UF Pro in the country, and we're trying to replicate it with their stuff. We're just in the beginning process of working with Linderhof, but their plate carriers are the real deal. Very well, I mean, they're German engineered, very well thought out, not overly complicated, which is not like a German engineer.
Yeah, I was gonna say
But
that.
but they did some really simple things, like how you cut your plate carrier to run cabling and things, and
Mhm.
they've sewed around certain areas so you can
Okay.
slice it and it won't run. So
Okay.
they've added just little details like that,
Hmm.
and I'll send you some pictures of the kit. But the UF Pro, it's on a different level. I don't wear a plate carrier for my day job. I don't wear tactical shirts. But when I'm on their range, like I went to a handgun class, so I will probably look like a little mini wannabe tactical guy because I wore the full kit because I wanted to feel like I was outside for 8 hours in
Hmm.
95-degree weather on the range. I wanted to feel what it feels like to wear the plate carrier all day and to
Hmm.
sweat in it and different things. But I'll tell you what, they put air packs in the shoulders and in the
Hmm.
backs of their combat shirts. Like I wore a, and I have lightweight plates in my carrier, but I wore it all day without any problems. No neck pains, no anything.
That's very interesting.
Um, while I
Are they
had
going to be a shot?
yeah, Linderhof is. Yep, they were there last year.
Yeah, I missed them last year, but how about UF Pro?
Did you come over to the UF Pro booth and see me
No,
last
I
year?
ran out of time. This year, no, I'm not making a schedule, so I'm going to swing by and visit if they're there.
Yeah, I'll let you know on the days that I'm there. We had some change of personnel recently, and so I was only going to go to SHOT Show for a couple days this year, but I think I'll be there for at least half the week, if not the majority of it, as we train new personnel.
Hmm.
They basically live in the UF Pro booth
I see.
because that's what they do. So we'll hopefully we can get someone hired before SHOT, and Cody and I will be at SHOT. Usually we fly in for a day or two,
Hmm.
and we let our sales team, our sales guy, do the heavy lifting. But this year we get to train a new one, so we will be. I will be there more than I was going to be. So
Yeah. Well, I'll figure out where it is. I kind of
it's in
subdivided which part of the
it's
show
in
I'm going to be.
Caesars all the way at the end.
Caesars. I'm going to be at Caesars on Wednesday, so I'll swing by, take a look.
Yeah, I'll probably be there on Wednesday. So I haven't decided yet. So
Okay.
that's for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll figure out what days I'm going to be in Vegas. So,
That's fair.
but
So
yeah,
looking at your website, so it looks like there is a reasonable mix. Some stuff you guys make yourselves. A lot of the stuff you
oh
resell. You do the clothing. You sell some chassis, some other stuff here and there.
yeah. So let's talk about the weird sections of business that we do.
Okay, let's do it.
Ilya touched on the first one. We do German and Slovenian tactical clothing and web gear, which is kind of one side of the business. Um, and then we do our own products, which we make and manufacture. We go after the key guns like Tikka, Ruger, drawing a blank, Savage, Thompson Center, and then we got heavy into muzzle loaders last year.
Interesting.
We do the CVA, the Paramounts, Acras, different muzzle brakes, cleaning rod, ramrod. Um, we were one of the first ones to discover that the Leupold Freedom scope that they made for a 5.56
Mhm.
is a terrible 5.56 scope, but makes a wonderful muzzleloader scope if you have to have a fixed one power red dot,
Oh, okay.
because you can put a custom turret on it. Well, you swap the turret out to allow you to dial. You can put a custom one on it if you work with Leupold, but we bought the scopes and the turrets and we put them together. We were one of the very first companies to
Mhm.
realize the potential of that. Um, and we sold 400 or 500 of them
Very cool.
leading up to the hunting season. So we got big into muzzleloader. So one of my business partners, or two of them, are big hunters. So we go down the hunting section. We go, and then I shoot competition and PRS. So we go down that on the accessory lines that we make and manufacture, and then we retail. What do you call it? We retail light goods or complementary items.
Mhm.
So chassis, triggers, muzzle brakes, chronographs, everything you need for the long range space. And then we do have a line of pistol products. They've done decent for us. Um, we sell some stuff through hk.usa.
Mhm.
So we do decently well on the pistol stuff, but it's not our bread and butter. But so we have a very wide variety of things. We distribute for law enforcement. We make our own stuff. We sell other people's stuff, and I wouldn't say we're 100% one stop shop for long range, but we're really close to it.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. So I'm glancing at your website. That all makes sense. Anarchy label throw levers that looks like it's 3D printed.
Yeah, yes, they're 3D printed using MJF technology, so multi jet fusion technology, which is not a filament printer. It's
Hmm.
not X and Z only. It is X. It's X. What is it? It's got the Z axis in it, right? It's XYZ axis, which means it's isometric. It's like injection molding.
Hmm.
These are really expensive printers. We don't do it in house. We outsource it, but they're really expensive. They create really nice products, so you don't have to make injection molds for them. Our pistol grips are also
Hmm.
printed. So the
Interesting.
Alpha Grip, the Penguin, the
Hmm.
Tuxedo. We've discontinued the Emperor, but all of our grips are also 3D printed in the
So
same.
grips, those are AR-15 style grips that you put on the
Mhm.
chassis bolt
Yep.
guns. Got it. Another thing just see now that I'm glancing at it a little bit more carefully, probably should have prepared better, but you'll forgive me. I see good number of products by Woox, WOOX. That's like half wood, half polymer. What is what? I had a brief experience with one Woox stock a long, long time ago, and it didn't fit anything. So, and then after that, I didn't look at it further. What's the deal with
We
Woox?
so Vux is an Italian company. They use Italian woods in their all of their wood comes out of Italy. Kind of hand picked. It's a hybrid. It kind of blends the old traditional wood stock with the new chassis vibe. Great company. They've been good to work for. I can share more details of our relationship with them offline with you.
Hmm.
I'm not
I'm
willing to do
curious.
that on the
Of
air,
course, yeah.
but we have an extremely good relationship with them. Um, we've done not only do we sell their stuff, but we have helped them with design and R&D and
Okay.
and several things and manufacturer of a few parts. So we have a very very good relationship with Wooks, and they are allowing us to be their international shipping point. So
Hmm.
we're set up to ship internationally through. We're set up to ship it internationally. We don't need to get into the details of that, but
So is it more hunting oriented, precision oriented, or a little bit of
it's a
everything?
it's a mix of both. So if you go out to their website, which you can do afterwards,
Mhm.
they have your traditional hunting style stocks.
Okay.
They have something very similar to the KRG Bravo. And
Okay.
then you get into their high end chassis, and it's kind of a mix of a KRG and an XLR.
Okay.
I wouldn't put them on the same level of like an MPA or some of the MDTs, like the higher end MDTs, but they're very nice. They do have one chassis that is competition oriented.
Hmm.
I think it's the Furiosa. I think I'm not as familiar with their stuff. Um, as I haven't used a ton of it, but it's great company. They're making some AR-15 furniture things, and yeah, I mean they're good to work for. I mean they're good to work with, and they make some really cool knives and axes and
Oh,
hatchets as well.
knives and axes. Okay, now you got my interest.
Oh yeah, they make some. You have to go out to their website. They make some
I'm
really
gonna go
nice
look.
looking
Yeah.
knives and some axes and stuff. And their booth is usually close to UF Pro, so we can always go over and
Okay.
introduce you
I'm
to
curious
those
now.
guys. Um,
Very cool.
I went last year, and I was commenting on a few parts that they had that they were showing off, and I talked to the owner for like 30 minutes before he realized who I was. I was like, "Oh yeah, that part looks so good. I wonder who made that." Like just talking to him, and then he looks at me and looks at my shirt and goes, "Oh, I see what's going on here." So it was
Yeah,
interesting.
every year I roam around Tokyo looking at rifle scopes, right? And with large optics companies, there's always going to be some guy who starts explaining to me how optics work. It's very interesting.
You don't have any idea how optics works, right?
No, none
Zero,
whatsoever, right? No,
zero idea.
the fun part, I'm sort of an opinionated and vindictive jackass. So and I'll see in the corner of my eye somebody who knows who I am, kind of rushing over to go, let's get that idiot away from him.
You're like, I'm sorry, but in the corner.
Too late now.
So, but no, it's the same thing. It's like when I eavesdrop in a gun store and things, it's just like I just have to walk out of here before I whack someone over the head.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, and some other things we do like peak refuel. It's hunting food, right? Dehydrated hunting fuel food. Um, so it's honestly you can tell like there's different passion lines from the owners because it's like, hey, I want a good deal on something, and all of a sudden we're dealers and we sell it. And it's just interesting. Sometimes you leave Cody
Okay,
unattended, and
seriously, e-bikes?
we used to do some e-bikes, and that's a story for offline.
It's in a
We
drop-down menu. I'm looking at them now.
Yeah, it's we leave them up there, but we haven't done much with them for the
Okay.
last little bit.
All right, fine.
We were working with the company to make police bikes, right? Because we
Oh,
sell to police, and we worked with them, and we sold a few, and then it's a story for later when we're not online because
yeah.
I'm not out here shaming other companies,
Yeah, okay.
but my shoulder blades still hurt from where they put the knife. So,
Okay. All right.
um,
Very
so
interesting.
that's a story for offline, just like our relationship with Wooks and a few other things.
Mhm.
So,
Cool.
but yeah, yes, we do make some really nice AI accessories. Those are all designed by Sam Burns. He has a company called I think it's Accuracy First or Accuracy. No,
Yeah.
it's like Accuracy. I don't remember. Anyways, he's a phenomenal mechanical engineer, and we took his products to market. So we pay royalties and things on those, but our AI accessories are beautifully designed and engineered. And kudos to Sam. Accuracy Obsession is the name of his company.
Okay, got it.
Accuracy Obsession. He made a chassis for the AT that AI basically took and redesigned it and they released their new rifle in
Mhm.
kind of that chassis, and it's looks very similar to Sam's chassis. So
Oh, interesting. He follows me on Instagram. I had no idea who he is. I'm gonna follow him back.
yeah, Sam's a good dude. It's a super good dude. We worked with him a few years ago, helped him take these to market, and then he kind of started making some stuff on his own, which is great. Good for him. We love his abilities. He's top A dude, like just class act guy. So
Excellent.
we like Sam. So, but you see his products and our products on a
Mhm.
lot of AIs. The thumb rest is
Mhm.
incredible. The guy's just brilliant. Unfortunately, the AI stuff falls into a very niche market that
That it
has a
does.
very specific buyer. Where a lot of our stuff we call kind of more blue collar.
Mhm.
It's more of a volume play and things. So.
Yeah. I need to go play with Accuracy International again. When I was just getting into shooting longer distances, it was admitted a very long time ago. And the original Accuracy International guns, they just did not fit me for the life of me. Then later they started making stuff a little bit more adaptable, and it probably would fit, but I moved on by then.
Yeah, they still
Something
have
to
some
revisit.
issues with proprietary stuff, but
Yeah.
their latest gun is definitely um, more geared towards the competition world
Yeah.
versus the law enforcement.
Well,
So
like I said, before that it was just an ergonomics issue. Like, I don't think I'm built all that. I'm not all that misshapen, but there's certain things that just don't fit me,
yep.
no matter how hard I try. So it is what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
mean, but the AI is one of the smoothest, cleanest actions to
Yeah.
run. I mean, it's just, and you see it, right? Our Tikka
Mhm.
scope handle, what's a scope handle? Our Tikka swept handle
Yep.
mimics that curve.
Mhm.
Um, there's several other companies that make swept handles and things
Mhm.
that mimic that AI feel and curve, and it's
Very cool.
just what it is. They make incredible weapon systems.
Mhm. Very cool. All right, let's see. We've been at it for a bit over an hour and a half, so it is getting late where I am, and I still need to get up early. So let's do this, guys. If you have any other questions for Aaron, or I'll open it up to anything else, optics related, anything that might come up. Let's give it another 5 to 10 minutes, and if we don't get an onslaught of questions, we'll start wrapping it up. I think
Well,
we all have a better understanding of what Anarchy Outdoors does at this stage. And honestly, the competition discussion was illuminating. I like that. Every time we talk, I learn something.
yeah, I like talking with you. It's always fun. The one thing we haven't covered is optics. What optics we use. So I am a optics snob. Not a huge snob. I've dialed it down a little bit, but currently I use Mark Five, Leupold Mark Fives, Mark Fours. I
Hmm.
use a Vortex Gen 3 on my 22, which I think is the best 22 scope. Now I've been told it's actually a zero comp, but I haven't dived into a zero comp yet. But I use that. What else do I have? I love the ATACR. I'm trying to think. I think it's mostly Mark Fours, Mark Fives, and the Gen 3 Razor is what I currently
Okay.
use.
So Mr. Kanbaking is asking, what was that game changer bag you recommended for me? Was it the X-Rail? So X-Rail is Area 419's version that you can clip to the rifle.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not necessary.
yeah. So I use a separate bag, mostly because when I bought it, I didn't know about that Area 419 did anything with it. I use the one called Game Changer X. It's a slightly new version. I'm not sure if it's an improvement or not, but it seems to give me a slightly larger contact area with the rifle. And mine ends up weighing, I think, about 9 pounds, something like that. I think it's there. It's not the heaviest fuel; it's the regular fuel.
I'll have to look yours up. I use the 1+1 Armageddon bag, which can only be found from JC Still. Now, my brother-in-law thinks it's too big and too heavy, so he uses the medium. I just put a link
Yeah, you put
in
the link to
the.
me only. I just reposted it.
Oh, I sent it to you. That's fine.
Yeah.
Perfect. Um, so I put a link to what is one of the most commonly used
Mhm.
bags. It's called the Schmedium. You want it in heavy fill. I use a 1+1, which is just a little bit bigger than that. Again, available on JC Still's website. And then I'll have to look up the bag that you're talking about. I haven't used
It's
that
a
one.
slightly new one. They're calling it Game Changer X. It's
Oh, right.
yeah. So I don't think you have it. I don't see it on your website.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's very very similar. It has it has no regular Game Changer has its teeth that point down and flat on top. The X has the corners and tops very slightly raised. So when you settle it on something, you have a slightly flatter, slightly longer shooting platform. I don't think it's a big difference, but if buying a new one, I would lean toward something that give me more contact. That's pretty much it. If you already have a Game
I'm
Changer, I wouldn't necessarily switch.
I'm gonna have to. You know what? I'm gonna email Cody right now and say, hey, Cody, we should stock these.
Really, hold on. So let me, since this came up, let me look on Armageddon Gear website so that people know what I'm talking about. I'll put it up on the screen. Bags, Game Changers. There you go. So I'm gonna put it on the screen so you guys understand what I'm talking about. Hold on.
Oh, you've mentioned. Hey.
There we go. So this sucker. Okay. So when you actually use it, it doesn't look as X shaped because you put it on the other side, but it really gives me off of almost anything I shoot. It just has a longer contact with the handguard of the rifle, and I think the feel I used was the party mix. It seems to be a reasonably decent mix. It comes filled a little bit too much. I ended up getting about half a pound of feel out of it, and then it got loose enough for my purposes. It seems to work very, very well. So I have two Game Changer bags. I have the Game Changer X, which is what I use for my competition purposes, and I have the pin size sticky Game Changer that I take hunting with me. So the smallest one.
The special sand weighs 13 pounds.
Yeah, 13 pounds is probably more than I'm necessarily looking for, but
That
mine
is
is under 10.
that is a heavy, heavy bag.
Like I said, mine is about 9 pounds, and that's about right. Honestly, 13 would not slow me down that much, right? So since I have to carry my fat ass all over the range, 13
Yeah, I'm
pounds
not.
is not going to make a
Oh,
difference.
no, I'm not carrying that thing.
Yeah.
Freaking, that's huge.
Uh, but in terms of stability, that thing is amazing. I pop the gun on it, and it just doesn't move. Like if I
I'm
miss
gonna
a
have to.
shot, I know
I'm
it's
gonna have
me.
to get one and try it.
Yeah.
Here, I'll drop you the link to. This is the one I've been using. Oh, it
Uh,
says it weighs 11 pounds, so I've been carrying a 11-pound bag around with me.
oh, I see it. So I'm gonna post it for everyone's benefit again.
It's kind of like it's like an elongated medium, and it's a little wider. But I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna order one
Yeah.
because I used to be a gear
Oh yeah, I
hound,
see it.
and I've been like, no, I'm gonna use one gun. I'm not gonna change it. I'm gonna use one bag. It's been a little while since I decided to go gear hounding, so I'm gonna order one.
I like to set up kits, right? So for the rifle, I want to use in competition, I only use one bag, right? For the rifle, I might be using hunting, etc. I use a different bag, but only one bag. So I kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, I had I won a schmedium off a prize table, and I took the heavy fill out of it and I filled it with Get Light.
Hmm.
So I carry a really lightweight medium bag, and I carry my heavy bag
I
depending
see.
on. what I'm using. And for those that are listening, you want to be a master at PRS, one bag. Learn to use a single bag.
Yeah.
And learn how to, it's called free recoil, float the butt pad. Like learn how to use one bag. Um, learn to use one bag. Then once you've mastered that, learn to use a tripod. Because most of the time, unless you're shooting out west where we like wiggly props, you'll use one bag. You shoot back east or in the Midwest, everything's cemented into the ground, nothing moves. It's amazing. Out here, we like to make the Oklahoma boys sweat with wiggly props. So you gotta know how to use your tripod.
Yeah. I do
no,
a lot of
it's good.
shooting off the tripod, but I started putting in a tripod table and then a bag on top of that, and it's like shooting.
So I mean, tripod rear support.
I've done
So,
that. I do that with the
using,
triple pull. Yeah. So there's another optics question here from Mr. Stay on Targets. Because you've mentioned the H6XI to 12x42 a couple of times. Any more detail to fill out the picture a little? So I still haven't done a full test on it. I've seen it a few times. If you want a scope in that range, they have that new Mil 3 reticle that makes it quite good. Of that configuration, it is probably one of the best I've seen to date. It's just a well-made scope. As is often the case on low power, the reticle is a little on the thin side. And that's what illumination is for. It's with front focal plane reticles. Hard to work around it. If you want to do like a crossover hunting rifle, that's relatively lightweight, and you want to be able to put the thermal creep on in front and all that, the H6XI from Steiner is probably one of the best options out there. So. Have you played at all with the H6XI or T6XI scopes from Steiner? They're actually quite good.
No, I have not, unfortunately.
I like Burris Steiner, guys. I just released, I don't think it's out on YouTube yet, my final wrap up with the Burris XTR Pro, and it's a related design.
The XTR Pro is an exceptional scope.
It's a nice scope. The funny thing is that mine is very, very good, right? So I know Burris guys very well, and I know they're smart enough not to cherry pick something for me, because if I catch them doing it, there will be complications. So I went and actually got my hands on another one purely randomly, and they perform almost identically. But it's optically consistent. Turrets are good, easy to get behind, very nice field of view. I like that scope.
Yeah, I'll have to play with one. I've been locked in to I just haven't changed scopes recently at all. I've just been super locked in to using and mastering the gear that I have.
Yeah. Okay, so Stan Targets goes, your range wrap up with both scopes is up. It is up on my website. I don't think I put it on YouTube yet. At least not that I can remember. Maybe I didn't. Oh, here's a good question. So from Jared, favorite single stage loading press? Most accurate and best deal?
I don't know. I mean, the Coax Forester, I think, is kind of one of the mainstays. I haven't reloaded for a few years. That being said, because I'm friends with Area 419, I have a zero press as well. But the zero is a little overkill for that. But let me tell you a funny story. If you guys follow PRS, you have Morgan King, you've got Paul Higley. They reload on a progressive. They buy reamers and they give the reamer to the gunsmith, and the gunsmith only uses that reamer for their guns, meaning every gun's identical. They haven't changed their loads, their charge weights, or the bullet they've used in 3 years, and they load them on a progressive. So it's very interesting. You can get very, very nitpicky on reloading, but it's not always necessary to get super picky, right? Morgan King is a national PRS champion, took second place in international competition. Like, he loads on a progressive press. And now he's sponsored by an ammo company that loads his stuff. But when he was competing a couple years ago, everything's on a progressive press.
Yeah.
And they run them on is it Dillon 510s, or I don't remember what the Dillon is, 550 or 650s.
One of them.
But yeah,
I have a Hornady progressive that I used to use for some stuff. I haven't touched it in several years. I try to avoid reloading unless I have to.
yeah, same with me.
So it's
Mavens.
I use a Redding turret press, um, and I'm not inclined to change just yet. If I was starting now, given that I'm a snob and I like well-engineered gear, I'd probably get the Area 419 press. It is expensive, but looking at it a little bit carefully, it is extremely well done.
I mean, go over and check out what's Joel's page, Reloader something. The guy has more videos and more in-depth stuff on anything you could ever want to know about.
We'll see. Anyhow, a couple other questions from Mr. The X. Just wish they would ditch the red anodizing on their scopes. That's about Burris. They just released one that's all black without the red stuff. Mr. Blind Spotter, thoughts on Maven RS1 2.5 to 15 by 44 in mil? I didn't realize until last week they had a mil option. I'm liking the weight of 26 ounces for a full featured front focal length scope. Are you at all familiar with Maven scopes?
I am not familiar with Maven scopes. I am familiar with their binoculars.
Okay.
Like I said, I have two business partners that are huge hunters, and they have traded in their Swaros for Mavens.
Interesting. I think they're blind, but okay.
I don't know. I don't know. According to them, they don't see a huge difference in them. Now they carry Swaro spotting scopes.
So I happen to not like Swarovski binoculars because they're very, very flattened, and it gives me a headache. But that's me. That's not them. Technically, they're amazing binoculars. Maven's higher end binos are very, very good. And no, you're not going to see a huge amount of difference, but you're basically well into the diminishing returns part.
Yeah, I think they saved a few dollars and went with Mavens, right? We're in the industry, so we got an industry discount, and they saved a few dollars, which they sold one of their big Swaros and they bought the baby Swaro, and they have a full size. So they carry Swaro spotting scopes, and they carry Maven binos.
Yeah.
So,
but anyhow, as far as Maven RS 1.2, it's a nice scope. I don't use it. I've tested the first one. I'm familiar with the second one. I don't use it because I think their reticles are weird. Reticles are important. But otherwise, it's a nice design. It's the same basic design as the Track Toric 2.5 to 15. It's the same scope. I've seen it around in a couple iterations. It works. It's robust. It's optically quite good. If the reticle in a Maven works for you, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that scope.
Yeah, I mean, that reticle looks like it's from 10 years ago.
It's not from 10 years ago, but reticles are like assholes, right? So
yeah, everyone has one.
Exactly. So reticles are very personal.
I mean, if you're going to put this on a hunting scope, I think you could get away with it. But no, I agree with you. Reticles are very personal, which is why I run the PMR2. I like Mil XT, and I like the Gen 3 Razors reticle. It's slightly different than the other EBRC 7s. So
yeah, I have the Razor Gen 3. I'm gonna put the Maven reticle on the screen, and I'll explain what I mean. So this is the Mil reticle in the 1.2. There we go. Okay.
See, I don't find myself using elevation very often, but I use the windage so much that I mean, that doesn't do anything for me. I don't like it at all.
So there are a couple of things here. So one is, why do you need this very long things at 10? What's happening with this thing long horizontal at 5? Beyond that, it's okay. There's nothing especially terrible about it. The box-looking structure around the center point is in many ways not ideal, but it's workable. The thick bars on 2.5. Let's if they're doing long ones, they should make it thicker. It's kind of workable. The basic problem with this, and like with all of these front focal plane reticles, is that, well, actually, what I can't tell here, I can't tell. I think, is it only the center dot that's illuminated, or there's more to it?
I'm not sure. Let me read.
Yeah.
I've got it
But
pulled up too.
I see that it's illuminated, but I can't figure out how much of it is illuminated. But the reticles to me are just a little bit odd. On the other hand, they're adequately functional. I'm not sure. If you want what I consider to be probably stylistically the best hunting reticle out there, I am going to pull up another scope. I'm about to release a review on this thing, and it should be, there we go. So let me see if I can find you a picture of this reticle, and you'll understand what I mean. And I think you will probably like this one, Aaron. RH2 reticle, where's the picture of it? I like Revit scopes, I don't like the website.
It just says multi-stage illuminated reticle.
Yeah.
I can't find anything else.
Yeah, so I'll need to look and see how much is illuminated, but the reticle it's not horrible, but it's not my favorite. Oh, there you go. Here's a reticle that Revit did. You guys should be able to see. So
Yeah,
only the
it
center
looks
cross
good.
is illuminated. There you go. Here's what they did. The outer posts are tapered and very bold. It's a front focal plane scope. I can see the reticle in every illumination. The reticle has very clearly defined wind holes. And I have a little bit of a holdover should I need it, but not much. And if you are relatively serious about long range hunting, I think this is simply a better way to go. Because what's going to happen is that if you're shooting from fairly far away, you're going to have time, so you should dial. And wind keeps on changing. It's not necessarily a bad idea to hold for wind. But what you cannot have a hunting reticle that in adverse lighting conditions will disappear on you. And that's what this does. I think stylistically, Burris in one of their scopes has a similar style reticle. Stylistically, I think this is the best conceptual design for a hunting reticle I've seen to date. It's like they took a German number one and modernized it. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. What are your thoughts on the Leupold PMR3 reticle? I'm trying to find a link for you.
PMR3? PR3 maybe.
Is that what it is? PR3, PR2,
PR3.
There it is. It's the PR3.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't have a scope in it. I have a scope with a PR1, a Mark 4 4.5 to 18 that I like quite a lot.
The PMR1 or the PR1 is very similar.
Correct.
The PR
has a little bit more granularity. It's a nice reticle. It's relatively thin, but in high magnification scopes, it's not bad. For my purpose, for competition reticle, it is very good, I think.
For hunting, would you use it for hunting?
I'd be okay using it for hunting as long as it's illuminated. Non-illuminated, I would not.
Okay.
If it's illuminated, it should be okay. But for hunting, again, the bottom vertical, you can easily slide that up quite a bit. I would prefer it to be closer to the center.
Yeah, it's got quite a long.
Yeah, it's got I think about 15 milliradian or so of line. And that's just for competition. That works great. You have very unobstructed center. If you need to use something for quick holdover, that kind of stuff, you can do it. But for hunting, I'd want the thick vertical to be closer to the center.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will talk to you when I select a hunting optic because I want a clean reticle and I want low light as possible. So
that means illumination. If you're gonna shoot far away, that means you should have a front focal plane scope. In your competition shoot, you need the FFP anyway.
Yeah, I mean we're talking probably 600 to 800 yards. Like you're in New Mexico, you're just like we
Yeah,
are. You're
yeah, that's their
taking.
business.
People might call it unethical, but it's not unethical if you practice, and 600 to 800 yard shots are feasible. It's like you're hunting ridge lines across valleys, and
Correct.
I mean, I killed my first deer at 600 yards. So
I've never shot an animal that far out. The furthest I shot an animal was about 450, but that's with a 308. So I shot
yeah,
an antelope at 350 last summer. Again, it's not about how long the shot is. It's about knowing what shots you can take and knowing what shots you cannot take.
yeah, I think I had set my limit at like 650 that day, and this was 4 years ago. I'm a much better shooter today,
There you go.
and
You just need to be confident in your abilities and practice much further than you're willing to shoot on an animal.
yeah, and I shoot extremely long, anyways. I had never shot at an animal before, so I had set my limit much closer than I probably would today. So,
yeah.
But that being said, like my business partners and stuff, I mean, one of their shots was unethical, but the Cody, our main hunter, that dude, anywhere between I let him shoot anything out to 1,000. He uses a 300 PRC, and
As
that
long as
kid
he's good
just
enough for that,
murders, out. He hit a whitetail at 700 yards in the back of the head, walking away from him. Like I was like, holy cow!
If he's capable of doing it, more power to him. All right, we just hit 2 hours. At 2 hours, the live stream on locals craps out. So I think we covered all the questions that we had. If there's anything else that comes up, put it in the comments. If it's a question for Aaron, I'll make sure he gets it. Otherwise, if you're trying to get a hold of me, the easiest way to get my attention is my locals website, darklordofoptics.com. On other platforms, I check everything as time allows. But if you're looking to get something out of me fast, darklordofoptics.com is your best bet. Aaron, thank you for sticking with me for 2 hours. If you have any parting words, now's the time.
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to come on. And if you guys need to reach me, just reach out to one of the Anarchy Outdoors social media pages or comment on our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel I go through like every 4 or 5 weeks. But if you message us on Facebook or Instagram, I look at those every day. So if you want to get a hold of me, shoot a message that way. And I just appreciate Ilya for having us on.
All right. Thank you for joining me.
And having a good time. Thank you.
All right. And gentlemen, good night.